No, that's fine. Totally fine. Good morning, everybody. Are we ready to get started? Okay. Call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session on March 20th at 10:01 a.m. And welcome to this first day of spring. Yeah. Ken, you want to lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We have a couple notices on our agenda here. One of them was the ESD board meeting. We already had that. But coming up after formal today is going to be an executive session. So as soon as we're done, everybody will have to vacate. Calendar session. Is there any updates, changes by the commissioners? None? Okay.
Spring break next week,
Yep.
We want to talk about the request from City of McMinnville, a joint work session.
For Mirac. Well, yeah. When was that? April 16th? April 8th.
April 8th.
What does April 8th look like for? Yes.
got
Okay.
YCOM on at 3 o'clock. Wouldn't work, and
Okay. And
There's also another day.
so it's the request is for April 8th at 5:30 p.m. or April 16th at 6 p.m.
Yep,
is
okay.
the other option that was presented.
So if I'm understanding this right, it'll be joint between Mirac, McMinnville City Council
And the board.
and the board. And it'll be probably at the Civic Center in McMinnville, I'm guessing.
Correct.
And it'd be discussion of county-owned properties.
how long does Lipsick go? Have
Hour. I wouldn't say more than an hour.
Okay, it's at 4.
Okay. You should. That would.
On the 16th, so that would be my only.
Okay. So we'll wait to see. Okay. Okay. Do you want to shoot for the one that's a little bit earlier, the 8th at 5:30? Okay.
I should be able to do either of those, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll let the city know and then we'll start coordinating calendars.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Thanks for reminding me
We
of
got
that.
one right there. He's
All right.
your
calendars.
meetings? Yeah. No, I've been to several of your meetings. They never go to an hour.
All right, moving on. D's, public comment. Do we have any on a non-agenda item? If you're online, raise your virtual hand. If you're in the audience, fill out the tan card. I didn't see any come up. Looks like we're good. Department updates. We are joined by Kate Lynch from the Attorney's Office for her update. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioner Starrett, Chair Johnson, and Commissioner King. Thank you for this opportunity to give an update on the District Attorney's Office. I have a PowerPoint. Don't worry, it's not too long. I just wanted to start by giving you all a brief overview of our office, talk about some of the good work that we've done in the last year, some of the challenges that I anticipate we're going to be facing, and some of our goals for 2025. I also prepared a very abbreviated presentation on 4002 and some updates with deflection. If you're interested, if it's stuff you've already heard before, I'm happy to fast forward through that. So when we get to that point,
I'd be interested.
I'll ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me get logged in here. Share my screen. All right. So I think all of you are familiar with the District Attorney's Office and what we do. I did want to just get into a few basics in case that's helpful. Primarily, we are involved in criminal prosecution in our criminal division. Along with criminal prosecution, we offer victim assistance for victims of crime. Our goal is to protect the community and make sure that victims have meaningful input into the criminal justice process. We have 14 funded DDA positions currently. I did have to submit a budget, cutting 2 of those positions to give a balanced budget. I'll be back here next month requesting that you add those positions back so that we can continue our work on the level that we have. We have 15 funded support staff positions. We also have 3 funded CVA positions. We have a CVA director who is also our office administrator, Cecilia Martinez. She's here today in case you folks have any questions about our victims division. And we have 1 program supervisor as well. That position has been vacant since November. We are actively working on filling that, and I hope to have some good news to share soon. We will also, I think, soon have a fully staffed CVA department as well. Our prosecutors are on call for law enforcement questions 24/7, and we actually work with 6 different law enforcement agencies. I know everyone here is very familiar with the Sheriff's Office. We also work with Oregon State Police. We work with McMinnville Police, Newburgh Police, Carleton Police, and Yamhill Police. So we have a lot of agencies that we work with, and we do so, in my opinion, very collaboratively. And it's a privilege to work in an office, for a community that places such a high premium on public safety. So that's a very, very good part of both this community as well as our office and our working relationships with law enforcement. We have 2 designated domestic violence prosecutors. They handle other general felonies as well. We have 2 designated child abuse prosecutors. We have an elder abuse designated prosecutor. She also handles other felonies in addition to elder abuse crimes. We have a designated Measure 57 or repeat property offender prosecutor. He also handles our mental health court, also known as CCS, as well as our adult recovery court. And those participants in adult recovery court are primarily Measure 57 or repeat property offenders who would be facing a DOC sentence, but are given an opportunity to address their substance abuse issues through recovery court in lieu of prison. Of course, if that fails, then the prison sentence is imposed if probation is revoked. We have 2 vacant DDA1 positions currently, and they are responsible for prosecuting DUIs in addition to other misdemeanor crimes. Again, I did have to cut those positions to submit a balanced budget. I will be asking for those back, and for the time being, we have had to allocate those DUIs to our felony prosecutors to prosecute. They are such an important crime to address for public safety reasons. Do you have any questions about this part before I move on? Yes.
Thank you for the update. A while back, I seem to remember there was a grant for addressing or doing some of the investigations on online child porn.
Yes.
Can you give us an update on where that is in terms of capacity and being able to address investigating those crimes?
Yeah, and so for CSAM or child sexual abuse material, we do receive funds through it's called CAMI. It's a child abuse specific grant, and we do allocate those funds partially to Newburgh for a detective who primarily conducts forensic investigations into those online offenses. So, and I'm going to turn to Cecilia because she is very knowledgeable about the grants, and ask her if I'm missing anything.
I think you covered it all. I would just add that CAMI did have a 22%, we expect a 22% reduction for the next biennium. But as of through the remaining of the current grant, those funds are allocated to the Newburgh Police Department, which is where we house the detective and the equipment that is supported through that grant. And that equipment and the detective do serve all police agencies in.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Commissioner?
Mhm.
Any
Can-
other questions?
Those 2 FTE that you were proposing to potentially cut, those are the, and they're currently vacant now. They're the
Correct.
DUI
And they're-
prosecutors.
They're misdemeanor prosecutors, and general misdemeanors, including DUIs. I would say the bulk of the work for those 2 positions is DUI prosecution.
And are those those positions easily hired? Or are they hard, or the
We-
job pool? kind of-
Candidly, it's been challenging to fill those positions.
Okay.
So we're looking at ways to increase our recruitment efforts.
Okay.
All right. In addition to our criminal prosecution unit, we do have a juvenile prosecutor that is funded through the Department of Community Justice, so it doesn't come out of the district attorney's budget. That DDA position is currently vacant, unfortunately, and so we are picking up juvenile prosecution with the staff that we have in the criminal division. We do also provide victim assistance to victims of juvenile crime. That's something that was an extra that was extra work that we took on when DCJ cut their victim advocate position. And we've, I think, got a system now that is working well, but it's still an extra ask for our victim advocates. Again, we're pretty close to being fully staffed in CVA, so I hope to have some good news to announce soon. We also cover civil commitments. I think everyone here knows about the civil commitment process, but I'm happy to answer questions about that. Our Measure 57 prosecutor, who also handles adult recovery court and mental health court, is our primary to handle those court proceedings for our office. And lastly, we have support enforcement, and they do excellent work for the community every day. We have one funded DDA, and we were fortunate to fill that position last month. We finally have a designated support enforcement DDA. The position had been vacant about 9-ish months prior to that. And so we had to, again, task one of our prosecutors on the adult prosecution side to help cover support enforcement matters. We do also have a program supervisor as well as 4 caseworkers. Any questions about juvenile civil commitments or SED? Okay. Just a brief snapshot of 2024. We charged 457 felony cases, 1,114 misdemeanor cases, and 144 contempt of court cases. Of those numbers, 151 cases were designated as domestic violence, 57 were designated as child abuse, and notably, our chief DDA, Sarah Vogel, received the Oregon District Attorneys Association Award for the Vulnerable Victims Prosecutor of the Year last summer. We filed on 28 elder abuse cases and 350 DUIs, so that's a lot.
Can you, can you send the 2023 numbers in an email after you're done?
Absolutely,
Just as a comparison.
you got it. And of those crimes, 1,557 were designated as victim crimes that were supported by our Crime Victims Assistance Office. And very significantly, we collected nearly $5,300,000 on behalf of children and families in Yamhill County by our Support Enforcement Division. So they were real busy. Any questions about the 2024 snapshot? Okay. Some of the goals we have for 2025. If we are fortunate enough to get those positions added back to our budget, we want to fill those. And if we are able to fill those, one of our goals, and this has been one of our goals for quite a while, is to provide very consistent quarterly training to law enforcement regarding search and seizure with criminal law updates. We have done those in the past, and we've gotten feedback that they're very valuable, especially since we have higher courts that seem to change the goalposts every 6 months with respect to search and seizure laws. So it's kind of a moving target. And we really enjoy providing these trainings, but candidly, when we have the vacancies we do, it's it's a little challenging to provide that on a consistent basis, but that's one of our goals. Additionally, with SED and CBA, Lizette Lara is the program supervisor that in support enforcement. And then, of course, Ms. Martinez is the director of our Crime Victims Assistance Program. Both of them have expressed a desire to do more community outreach. And so that is hopefully on the horizon as CBA becomes fully staffed. We also, and we've started doing this to some degree already, we want to really use the resources that we have that are already in existence and try to increase our efficiency, look at processes and see if there's a way to update processes and better utilize the technology that we have. Speaking of technology, notably, we just have so much digital evidence these days. And in some ways, it's great. And I think body-worn cameras are a great thing. And for certain types of cases, such as DUIs, it's really reduced the number of trials that we have because it's great evidence. If somebody is impaired, it's oftentimes visible on a body-worn camera. So with with all of our agencies now having body-worn camera, it's resulted in additional evidence. However, with a DUI, if you have 4 officers who respond, and maybe 1 to 2 hours, that's possibly 8 hours of body-worn camera that our prosecutors are having to review. That case goes to trial and they want to use the body-worn camera as evidence. It's just, some years ago we used to have legal assistants do redactions because there's oftentimes things in those digital evidence that they're just not going to be admissible at trial. It's too big of an ask. So we now have our prosecutors doing those redactions prior to trials. So it's great to have that evidence, but it has increased our workload, I think, significantly with respect to reviewing that evidence. And then when you're preparing for trial, having to redact that evidence, in your trial prep. So it's good, but it's also a lot more work for us. Before I get into House Bill 4002, I did want to just kind of talk a little bit about some of the major cases that we handled this year. And I think some of you may have heard about what we described as the Mac RV case or State v. Burnt. And that was a case involving, by the time we went to trial, we had 28 victims who were victims of fraud by a business owner here in McMinnville. And we were able to secure convictions for those frauds, all of them, and all but 2 were over 65. So most of them were elderly victims who had been swindled. We were able to secure convictions and obtain a sentence of 20 years that was ordered by Judge Chapman and nearly $700,000 ordered in restitution. So I think that was a pretty significant case. It was a good result for the victims. But again, those types of cases took about a month for 2 prosecutors to prepare for. So it was a big lift. Along the same lines with property crimes, we had State v. Simpkins and State v. Mosier. That case involved a series of stolen vehicles and commercial burglaries in Newburgh, including the theft of a mobile hospital trailer from Providence. The Newburgh PD was the primary, but it also included the Sheriff's Office and Mac PD, so it was a true collaborative effort between 3 law enforcement agencies. The result from that investigation and the successful prosecution was 96 months DOC for both offenders, as well as $88,000 ordered in restitution. So that was a good result. State v. Austin, a career criminal who entered homes, frightening the residents, shortly afterwards entered another couple's home after smashing out their window, chased them into the home with a floor jack handle. He then resisted arrest. That was a Mac PD case, and the result was 90 months DOC after trial and $2,500 in restitution. There's a lot of other examples, but in the interest of time, I'm going to move to one of our more recent cases, State v. Ryan, and that involved a defendant who raped multiple women. We were able to secure convictions for the rapes of 2 of those women after trial, and he received 400 months by Judge Wiles here just several weeks ago. I think you probably are familiar with the Ramos cases, Ramos and Watkins cases. Those were cases that were reversed based on non-unanimous jury verdicts. Thankfully, I think we're kind of seeing the end of those because the deadline to file under Watkins was last year. So I think we're finally kind of seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. But we had a number of cases that were reversed that we had to, make the decision whether we could retry. I myself retried a case in January that I had tried initially in 2017. Thankfully, that was a good result. We were able to secure justice again for the victim. He received a 300-month sentence, so it was significant. That being said, I was reminded of the heavy lift that those cases involved, and I was adding up my time, and it was well over 100 hours just for that trial. So that kind of gives you a sense of some of the time and resources that are necessary to achieve justice in some of these more major cases. So right now, I will say I think we have just 2 left, which is good. I'm hoping that there's some more curveballs on the horizon, but there might be. Again, there's just numerous cases that I could talk about, but in the interest of time, I think I should probably move on. Do you have any questions about what I've presented so far? Okay, 4002, I know y'all have heard about it. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I'm sure everybody here knows that it changed the criminal consequences for possession of controlled substances in small amounts. It also, I think very significantly, changed the criminal standard for delivery of a controlled substance and some of the criminal consequences associated with delivery of controlled substances within certain geographical locations. Everybody here is familiar with 110. I think I'll just kind of breeze through these. Everybody here knows about all the overdose situation. So 4002, this was helpful on a number of fronts. Specific to criminal justice, it fixed the issue created by a case called State v. Hubble, which really did away with the state's ability to prosecute what I call constructive delivery, and that is possession with intent to deliver. So it essentially created, it fixed the issue that was created by that. And let's see here. It also gave us this new misdemeanor crime of possession of controlled substance, which is an unclassified misdemeanor. And of course, there's 3 pathways to avoid incarceration for individuals who are charged with this. The priority is for deflection in lieu of prosecution. I'll get to those stats in a minute. They're not super encouraging, candidly, but we're working with what we got. And deflection, of course, is a collaborative program between law enforcement agencies and behavioral health. Everybody here seen this graph before? Okay. Presently, we have, of course, an HHS navigator in Yamhill County. We have a sheriff's office coordinator, Carol Ann Van Wert. She's awesome. She gives us stats every week. And we do have a partially funded DDA position as a result of House Bill 4002. And here are our most recent stats as of last week. So since September 1st, when that portion of House Bill 4000 took effect, there have been 120 referrals for DEMs or drug enforcement misdemeanors. Of those, 77 qualified for deflection. 18 have been assessed thus far. And currently engaged, we have 6, which is about 8%. We have 10 who did not complete treatment, and we had 111, and that includes the ineligible folks who were referred for prosecution. Of those referred for prosecution, more than half FTA'd, failed to appear at their initial arraignment, and then subsequently 27 continued to fail to appear. We also have 45 of those folks who wound up receiving a conditional discharge and 7 who were placed on probation. Thus far, we have 1 successful deflection in Yamhill County. So I know these stats aren't encouraging, but we have to work within the parameters that we were given with House Bill 4002. So it's a work in progress. And that's really all I had, unless you folks have questions.
Do you have an updated number? I know that last time the sheriff presented stats like this, it was a few months back, but is there an updated number for how many are out of our area, out of Yamhill County?
I don't
That
have
are in the
those information,
deflection.
but I could look into those. I'm sure Carol Ann could give us that.
Okay,
So
great.
updated number of folks who were
Outside
cited
of-
for DEM, but outside of Yamhill County.
What's the length of time before, before somebody is assessed?
Oh, gosh, I think that they're cited right now for a couple weeks out. And they're told to contact either behavioral health or the sheriff's office, I think within those 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
I'll confirm that. But that's, I think, our current working model.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
No, I just met with Kate, the DA, a couple of weeks ago and got most of this all laid out. I'm
Fantastic.
This is great. Great information.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank
Thanks
you very
very
much
much.
for your
Yep.
time.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Kate.
Celia.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on. Item F is work session. We have none. G is consent agenda. There's none. H is old business. None. I is other business. I1, consideration to authorize the Yamhill County Sheriff or designated staff to accept the United States Police Canine Association, Inc., USPCA, and the American Kennel Club, AKC, Reunite K9 Cop 2025 grant in the amount of $7,500 with a $2,500 match.
I think they only give out, what, 200, 250 of these, so I think this is a score. I'd move approval.
There's been a motion. Any further discussion?
None for me.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to I2, consideration of approval of an intergovernmental agreement between Yamhill County, Yamhill Communications Agency, YCOM, and City of McMinnville for the purposes of resource sharing for the Records Management System, RMS, for the period January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2029, in the amount of $239,495.
I move approval.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion? I had one question. Are we changing software companies, or is this the same one?
I don't have that information.
okay.
I'm not sure. I can find out. I can follow up with the sheriff and get that information.
Okay. We have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to I3 is consideration of approval of a board order correcting board order 25-42, section 6, distribution of gross purchase price proceeds.
I mean, if the board
A
has
little
any
background.
questions, yeah, this is just to reallocate where the proceeds needed to go to make sure that they went into our foreclosure surplus proceeds account
Okay.
and not into the unsegregated tax account to be distributed. We need to hold on to those proceeds while we're still working with the legislature and with some ongoing litigation about how foreclosure surplus proceeds are to be allocated.
Is this a minor thing? Because we've had these funds for quite a while. I just want to make sure we're not going to run into issues down the road because they weren't allocated correctly.
No, it's fine. We've been holding on to them.
Okay.
So we will simply now allocate them correctly.
Okay.
Shouldn't create any issues. Thank you.
I'd move approval, Chair.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion?
Nope.
None. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to I4, discussion of Chemeketa Community College proposed bond, brought to us by Commissioner King.
Folks at Chemeketa came last week and asked for an endorsement, and we didn't talk about it much and thought that maybe we should have a quick discussion about it. I don't know where you guys stand. Make sure that we were respectful of some of our partners and see where you guys were at. So I know a few of them are here if we had any questions, but
All right. You want to kick us off or?
I don't have much more than that. I mean, I'm a big fan of CTE and being not a student that didn't go to college, and wish that that was more of an option when I was a kid. So the fact that a lot of it goes towards that and that it's not a new tax, I think or a new bond was very appealing to me. This is just something that is reoccurring, almost like a taxing district, but
Yeah.
something that's just there. So I'm inclined to support it, but didn't know where you guys stand. So
Sure. This is,
So we would need a motion and then discussion.
oh, sorry. I would move approval.
we have a motion. Any further discussion?
Yes. I am also a fan of the programs at Chemeketa. I think they're very valuable for our community. I know that we have a partnership for our childcare program, which we've been anxiously watching and appreciative of everything that Chemeketa does. I do want to say that I will not be voting in favor of this for a number of reasons. This is not in any way to disparage the college, the work, the programs, but what I will say that to endorse something as a board, I think for me is a step too far when we are being asked to endorse a tax, an additional tax. And when I say additional tax, because Chemeketa brings in $4.6 million of tax money from Yamhill County residents and an additional 1.8 million. So you've got a total of $6.4 million. I think of people all over the county opening up their property tax bill and looking at all of the bonds, all of the education tax dollars that are added on to their basic property tax, and the county gets what, 17% of a property tax bill, and the rest goes to the taxing districts. I'm comparing that to Newburgh, which is 7.5 million, CPRD 5.5 million, and I thank our assessor and tax collector Derek Wharf for these numbers. So when I look at the $6.4 million that is already currently being collected for Chemeketa, not that any of this is not worthwhile, and what you've outlined in terms of security upgrades and campus maintenance, it's all defensible. But I can't sit here as a commissioner and endorse a taxing district continuing an additional, and it is, while it's a bond, it does add almost $2 million to what we are collecting. So it is an ongoing addition to the tax. We always tend to vote for these things because it's only a few dollars or a few cents per dollar. And yet it does add up when you look at your property tax bill. Sometimes it's a shock to the system. So I just want to be careful in my role as a commissioner that I would not be endorsing constituents and putting an imprimatur or stamp of approval on an ongoing tax. But I do appreciate the work that is done there. And I think that with what you do with CTE, more than ever, it's valuable. And we're seeing it's the great antidote to high cost 4-year degrees, and it's what we need in this county, but I can't endorse this. So that's where I'm coming down.
Thank you.
Would it be inappropriate to have them say anything about that if they wanted to, or it's up to you, Chair?
I don't know what
I've
we
heard,
haven't
I mean, I've heard the presentation going clear back to last time
Sure.
when it was presented. To me, this is something personal that it comes down to, and I definitely will be having a conversation with them as we get closer to the deadlines for maybe the voters pamphlet statement. I guess as a question, just for timing purposes, and maybe they're going to know that, what are our deadlines? And so if somebody wanted to just kind of come up real quick and address that. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm Jessica Howard, the president of Chemeketa. 2 weeks running here, very exciting. I would say appreciate, of course, your consideration. The deadline for the endorsements is Monday. So this requires, completing the SDL 400 form. So we are on a bit of a time crunch.
Okay, so even more reason that I probably will vote with Commissioner Starrett on this, but I will definitely be in touch with you guys and we'll see if we can get something figured out, even if it's on just a personal level.
I think,
So
Yeah.
we have a motion. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion fails. That's the
Thank you.
first one that's
Thank you for your
failed.
consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be in touch. Moving on to item I5, consideration of approval of amendment number 3 to the lease agreement between Yamhill County and Jeff Reed, Board Order 17-145, effective May 1st, 2025.
I'm assuming everybody read what this lease is and what it provides.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, I'll move approval.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. J is public hearings. There is none. K is announcements. Commissioner King, you want to kick us off?
yeah, let me pull mine up here. Friday, I went for a tour of our juvenile detention center and was very impressed with the amount of work and education and just the approach that they take towards the care of those kids, and not really a heavy hand, more of a real love and care. And I was very impressed by that team of what they do there. And then so just a big shout out to John Lynch and Jessica Beach, and big fans and lots to learn still, but very happy to do that. Hope to spend a lot of time over there actually. Saturday was I was on a board for the panel to judge the Newburgh Old Fashioned Festival court, which was fun, new for me, very interesting. Picked the new court there. Monday, last week I think I mentioned that we talked about raising the fare prices for the buses, and so I spent a good half of the day or more riding the bus just to figure out who the customer was, who rides it, where it goes, how they get there. I hopped on a dial-a-ride that took some folks up to their shift on disabled folks up to ADEC, and then rode back down on the main line to McMinnville, and then a couple of loops around Mac. Very educational. It was very good. So I think I learned a lot. And what else did I do here? Oh, Newburgh City Council was Monday, and that was a 11 o'clocker. I think it got done. They talked about the public records request, SDR, short-term rentals, and TLT taxes. And then Tuesday was Dundee. They did a park master plan, and a water rate adjustment conversation. Yesterday, I met with the new president at the hospital here in Mac, and was the Chamber Awards Gala. So pretty busy week, but yeah.
Nice. All right. Commissioner Starrett?
Let's see. CCO discussion of the legislative update on the priority bills. Also want to give a shout out to our emergency manager, Sergeant Young. On the 14th, there was the indication that there was a lack of water at the Cove Orchard Water Association. And basically, it was all hands on deck. So they took a look at it, assessed where the repairs needed to be done. There was bottled water. The Yamhill Fire Department was giving showers, and the state was involved, and they were ultimately able to determine that the water air valve problem was a near Flet Road. So thank you to all of those who provided services. Yamhill County does not provide the water, but we do manage the sewer system. So just a thank you for that. Also, the MAC breakfast with the board. And what else is going on? Crabtree Park. More information shared with them on the deed and the restrictions on the deed. And also just really a big sigh of relief, the type 3 hearing for the Sanders Park in Dundee. It's going to now move forward, and I credit CPRD, I credit the board, because this has been languishing. Here's a woman who's in her 90s who devoted this property to the city of Dundee, and because of over 22 different regulations, they were unable to move this forward. But now it looks like they're going to be breaking ground in the spring, and we want to thank Mayor Ford for that. So I do appreciate all the work that's been done, because this has been, I think, 5 years in the making.
Yeah,
So that was
nice.
good news.
Nice. All right. Well, that's up to me now. So last Thursday we had RIAC. There's two empty positions on that board. We interviewed one, and it was the Public Works Manager from Newburgh. So it looks like he's going to fit right in. And he's going to, I think he'll come before us probably next week or the week after for approval. George Fox students, they have an every year, once a year, they have a project through Public Works that we give them, and the engineering team comes in and they do, I think it's 30% design on a project that the Yamhill County Public Works will give to them, and this year's was on College Street. College Street is interesting because in the city of, it's within the city of Newburgh boundaries, yet Yamhill County still owns and manages it. So and this is not the only street that is owned within city limits, and it's always kind of an issue of how they get upgraded, who pays to upgrade them, to then who takes ownership of them. So anyway, that was one of the projects. It was College Street, a short little section, and they presented it to RIAC, and I thought it went well. Lafayette City Council was Thursday night also. I think the most interesting thing was they discussed the intertie heading to Lafayette from McMinnville, and Dayton wanting to tie into that at around Ash Road as a backup source of water, because Dayton's running into issues with their well fields. So here, I think about a month or month and a half ago, maybe longer, time gets away, but they had an issue with a water leak and it drained their reservoir. And so now seems like they're on track to see if they can find a stable backup for their water supply. So that's good. Monday was Sheridan City Council. They had same discussion as Willamina for renewing their enterprise zone. Tuesday, we had the chamber breakfast bright and early. Went well. I liked the discussion of the legislature issues that are coming through and what the chamber was supporting on that or not supporting. So appreciate that conversation. It was nice to see the full board was there supporting the chamber. I attended that afternoon. I attended OSU Sustainable Egg collaborative with local farmers in the area. The discussion is just in the beginning phases, but they're talking about taking farm waste products, whether that be like from a vineyard, to be crushed waste from grapes or their vines that they mulch into the ground. For me, it would be unrooted rootstock sticks, apple trees. So we discussed what the potentials are for use for that waste, anywhere from making packaging products to making power from it. So it was kind of interesting. That evening was Salinas' town hall. Attended that. I'd like to see, and I'm going to just say it publicly, that I'd like to see I'd like to see Andrea do it kind of like Merkley did with a local leaders kind of town hall for like 30 minutes before. So I talked to Brandon about seeing if we can change that for the next time, because otherwise you're just sitting there with everybody else hoping that you get your number called. And I had 3 or 4 hot button stuff that I want to talk about every time I see one of them. And I repeat it to Brandon and Gustavo and Karina every time I see them, but it's all about, traffic and intersections for me. And we're getting super close on McDougal, and we'll have an update on that one. The sheriff's getting me some updated numbers. We need some ant traps. getting me some updated numbers on crashes around that McDougal interchange. So we can go back to ODOT, and this will be a third meeting in about 2 weeks with ODOT, and see if we can start finalizing on what funding looks like from Merkley's office. Last night was Parks Board meeting. We now have 2 open positions on the Parks Board. One application came in last night. They are going to reach out to them and see if they want to do an interview, hopefully by next month, the next Parks Board meeting. But if anybody's interested in Parks Board, get the word out there and have them turn in applications. We lost one of our Parks Board members. He's moving to Idaho. So everybody thanked him for his time and commitment. And I will say that Parks Board, you would enjoy it. It is a very committed board. Everybody gets along very well. And they definitely, you can tell they're passionate because of the time that they put into it. So if you're on the fence about whether getting on the Parks Board or not, definitely fill out that application because it's a fun one to be on.
There was a time when we couldn't fill those seats.
Yeah, so when I was first commissioner and was liaison to it, there was 7 positions out of
Oh, wow.
13 filled. And now it was full as of 3 months ago. Unfortunately, Jim Colbert passed away, so that was one open position. And then we had a resignation last night.
Ken, is it possible to get a list of open positions on?
They're
the-
posted on the
website.
They're
website,
on the
but
website.
to that point, we are going to work and try to keep that updated.
Okay.
Just to make dang sure, because people are starting to pay attention to that, and I want to make sure it's good information. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. This morning was Parkway Committee. Again, we discussed all the different phases going on with the Newburgh-Dundee bypass. Construction has started. You're going to start seeing dirt moving for phase 2A1 something or other. They keep chopping the phases up. But you're going to start seeing dirt moving for overpasses going in around that Winooski interchange. We also talked about McDougal, but there'll be a better update next month after we get some more crash data. And after BOC today, if you guys get a chance, there's the Sprout Summit's going on at Linfield College. And we have a Fair Board meeting tonight. And that's all I got.
That's it?
That's it. I'll try to make it quicker next
Slacker.
time. Yeah. So with that, I close out the formal session of the Yamaha County Board of Commissioners at 10:48. And thank you all for coming. We have an executive session coming up. So